Thank you. Thank you, Jampala. Thanks for that introduction. I feel a little bit dazed. I want to talk about visibility and what that means in a Dharma context. So obviously, we know what that means in a secular, worldly context, but we don't necessarily know what visibility means in the context of a Dharma setting. I also wanted to talk about the idea of diverse voices and how we can make communities that accommodate diverse voices. So the first thing I think I want to set up is the idea that there's outer action and then there's inner action. So outer action is the stuff that we do as a result of our ethics, our commitment to kindness and compassion in the world, fairness, justice. So that outer action is whatever we do to make change in the world. So how we contribute our time to various movements and causes. On the social stage, but also in our personal lives, how we advocate for others in our personal lives who may not have the voice that we have. And then inner action, I think it might be obvious to you all because we're all Buddhists here. Inner action is what we do in terms of the mind in order to change the mind so that that flows through to our behaviour, and then that behaviour transforms the world. So an idea that I'm quite committed to is the idea that the inner revolution, inner change, is needed before outer change or outer revolutions. It is that peaceful, quiet, inner revolution that will actually change the world in a lasting way. Outer action, as we all know as Buddhists, tends to have impermanent results. So, and we can see this. We can see in the way that changes have happened for the good. So people have achieved rights, have been treated more fairly. But then, because of the nature of the world, that's quite impermanent and can be turned over, can be reversed. We only have to look at our political environment, our social environment, to see that where once people may have been treated reasonably well, suddenly they're not treated very well anymore. And it only takes a few poisonous voices for the whole climate to shift. I think we saw that quite recently with the way that environmental, social justice and other advances were just turned around. We see that in a number of governments around the world. I don't want to pick on any particular government or any particular politician, but we can see how we can make change and it just gets reversed. And that's, as Buddhists, we should actually expect that, because that's the nature of samsara. It is impermanent and it is permeated by dissatisfaction. So that doesn't mean we should not live ethically, that we should not use our voice to make space for ourselves and for others who don't necessarily have a voice, and also listen so that those who are not routinely given a space to talk or be heard can be. So we step aside and we allow people to have that space. We offer our space up. So that's stuff that we of course should do. March and protest, vote in a certain way, donate money to causes, donate our time to causes. Of course, that's obvious. We need to do all that stuff, particularly for people who are in our particular boat, who continue to be the most marginalized persons in most societies on the planet. So of course we do all that stuff, but really, if we're Buddhist, we have to accept that that is temporary and it will only be impermanent, the results. Real revolution, real transformation, real change is in the heart. It's our hearts we need to change, and then that becomes our visibility. So on the one hand, we have this outer activity where we're speaking up, we're digging our heels in to protect others. You know, we are the bulwark against hatred, sexism, transphobia, racism. We are the bulwark against that. We don't allow it where we are. But at the same time, we have to understand that that won't have lasting effect. It will have temporary effect, which is, you know, good. We want that. But lasting effect has to be changing our heart, and then our heart, our changed heart, becomes our visibility. So we become visible as awakening beings. So our visibility is in our true nature, which has these qualities. You know, we know what they are. We all know what they are. The four immeasurables are the main ones: love, compassion, joy, equanimity. Those are the qualities of our true nature. That's our true visibility, and we need to bring those to bear through practice. So we sit in meditation, we do whatever our practice happens to be, and we awaken to our true nature. That's where the real revolution is. The Buddha made this very clear. If we consider ourselves Buddhists, we need to follow the Buddha's example. What was the Buddha's example? That secular change wasn't enough. The Buddha had secular power and cast it away. The real revolution is in the heart. The Buddha left everything behind, sat down, practiced, changed, awakened that potential that we all have of boundless love, limitless compassion, endless joy, perfect equanimity. So that's what, so I had a dream. I am a dream person, but I had a dream where my teacher said to me, be a lion of awareness. Walk in wherever you walk like a lion of awareness, and don't let anyone treat you badly. So there's an element of having confidence in our true nature, being confident that we are equal to everyone else, and that in our nature, we are the same as the Buddha. We need to enter every space with that confidence. No one is going to give us that confidence. People won't really make space for us. We have to make the space ourselves. And our own joy, love, compassion, and equanimity will make it quite clear that we deserve that space. So this is a little bit confronting, particularly if you're someone of my age. You know, I grew up in Australia, and not just in Australia, but in perhaps the most conservative part of Australia in the 1980s at the height of the HIV/AIDS pandemic, when the government and the media and everyone was labelling LGBTIQA+ persons as the ultimate abject enemy. The media went to town with it, the government went to town with it, passed all kinds of really very discriminatory laws. Those of us who are of this kind of age, we know what it's like to really be the object of hatred, you know, for no reason, you know. But over time, we have made space for ourselves. No one gave us that space. No one is going to give us that space in the Dharma. We need to do the same thing that we did on the secular front with that outer action. But we always have to be very clear that we're Buddhists. And the Buddhist example is that inner transformation is where it's at. That we have this potential to be awakened beings. We have boundless love, joy, compassion, and equanimity as our inner reservoir that just needs to be tapped. We tap that through practice. We move into the world with that shining, you know, become shining examples of love, joy, compassion, and equanimity. And that doesn't necessarily mean that everyone will be instantly changed and make space for us. Often, when we practice and we start to change, it triggers what, you know, I sometimes call it the shadow in others. They don't really like it, you know, when we start to change and we start to let go of worldly concerns, you know. We no longer care about how big our house is. We no longer care whether we have a car or not. We no longer care about, these are ordinary worldly things. Our concern goes towards the Dharma. And that can irritate those who see worldly concerns as what it's all about. So I'm not in any way saying, when we sit and we we connect and awaken our true nature, that will make everything easy. This is samsara. It's not going to be easy, but there's no other choice. Any kind of outer action we take, as I said, it will be temporary and impermanent. And real revolution, real visibility, real diversity is when we each awaken, We don't have to get all the way. As soon as our hearts start to change, we start to demonstrate love, compassion, kindness, equanimity. We're quite content in whatever situation arises, whatever rises in the mind, whether that be fear, anger, jealousy, envy, desire. We're okay with whatever rises in the mind. We just are patient with what's happening around us. And, slowly, slowly, slowly we transform, and everyone around us transforms as well, because they start to see, hang on a minute, this person is kinder, more loving, more compassionate than the average person, and certainly more than they were before. What's that down to? And they see it's the Dharma. Every single one of us as a Buddhist has a responsibility and an obligation to share the benefits of the Dharma with those around us. It's in our refuge vows. Number one, to not kill or harm any sentient being. It's number one, and it's the only non-negotiable of our precepts. The others we can take on or not. It's a question of choice. But that first one, to not kill or harm any sentient being, is not negotiable. And it can be seen on sort of three levels. The level of the sutra, which is to renounce harm, right? But then on the level of the Mahayana, that means not just to renounce harm, but actually to actively love others, to actually be kind, to actually be generous, to actually be supportive, to actually protect the vulnerable. It's not just stopping doing negative stuff. It's actively doing positive stuff, And one of our obligations, the greatest kindness we can show, is to show the benefit of the Dharma. How do we do that? By embodying it, not by talking about, not what I'm doing, talking about it, by embodying it in our daily life. Be kinder, be more generous, more compassionate, more equanimous, is that a word? But not in a fake pretend way, because we actually are changing, because our hearts are actually opening, and we, wonderful rainbow beings, we have the same nature as the Buddha. There's nothing to stop us. No one can take that away from us or diminish our capacity. There is an idea circulating in the world that LGBTIQA+ beings are somehow less spiritual than other beings. It's of course nonsense. We know it's a nonsense, but sometimes we've internalized that idea that we're not good enough, that we're not quite pure enough or something, but it's really not true. So step one, go back to that dream from my teacher. Be a lion of awareness. What is awareness? It's, other traditions would call that mindfulness, but it's tinged with compassion. Just be really confident in your compassionate nature, really confident that you in your nature are the same as the Buddha, as are all other beings, and occupy every space you're in with kindness, love, compassion, equanimity, and be a bulwark against hatred, transphobia, sexism. And I was going to think of another phobia there. There's all kinds of phobias. Just be a wall against it. But the best wall is not, activism and speaking up and agitating. Those are good. Those are really good. The best wall against that stuff is a wall of love, a wall of compassion, a wall of joy, a wall of equanimity. To be impervious to hate, that's freedom from suffering. Very quick. And we can overcome all this negative stuff in our own minds and in our world by doing this inner transformation. And guess what? We all have the capability. The Buddha said so. The techniques do not cost anything. They are free. We don't need to go to a temple to get them. They're on the internet. Spoiler alert. There's no secret method. The Buddha taught everything publicly all at once. The idea that there are secret teachings, it's nonsense. The Buddha taught everything all at once. It's all there. It's all freely available. You don't need to join a temple. You don't need to have a fancy teacher. You don't need to do any of these things. It's all there, and it's all very simple. What is it? Sit in meditation. Awaken the heart. How is that done? By just applying a little bit of joyful enthusiasm to the practice, summoning joy, engaging in loving activity, engaging in kindness. This is not hard to do to awaken the heart. It's natural to us to awaken the heart. So these are things very simple, very free, not held away from us. No amount of hate can stop us accessing that. It's our birthright, every sentient being's birthright. So I think, some of my heroes are, many of my heroes are activists. Oh, a birdie. Some birdie suddenly appeared in front of me. It's a sign. Sorry. And I want to be an activist in my life, but an activist is motivated not by politics or self-interest, but by love and compassion and the idea that all sentient beings are in the nature of the Buddha. The reason why I'm quite active in pro-animal kind of things is because animals in their nature are the Buddha and they have no voice. So we make ourselves a voice for those beings. We're all imperfect. We all make mistakes, but we can start by sitting down, trying to awaken our love, compassion, joy, and equanimity, try and develop that confidence that in our nature we were absolutely the same as the Buddha, as is every single sentient being. And race, gender, sexuality, all of these things, they don't impact that true nature at all. Our Buddha nature is impervious to everything. No amount of meritorious activity, like activism, donating to charities and stuff like that, will make your Buddha nature better. It's already perfect. No amount of negative behavior, going out on the town, being really naughty, will make it worse, right? But the naughty behavior will undermine your ability to connect with it, because you in your mind will not feel confident. You in your mind will doubt your capacity. So I think that's all I wanted to say. It's pretty simple, but I think if we each made the commitment to bring our true nature to bear in the world, in the Dharma, then this idea that we're less than will vanish, not straight away and not without a fight, but it will vanish because there's no denying a loving being, there's no denying that. There's no denying our joy. There's no denying our equanimity and our evenness. There will be no denying that, so we need to be shining lights of the Dharma. Yes, we need to be activists, but we need to be shining lights of the Dharma. And what are the shining lights of the Dharma? They're people who are kind of simple. They're doing a simple practice. They're awakening their heart. They're living ethically and frugally. This is not hard, and it's stuff that we're already probably doing, but we need to redouble our efforts, support others to do the same, share the benefit of our practice with others. The Buddha gave a list of 5 attitudes that humans should have when they're sharing the Dharma. None of them are enlightenment. Just let you know. We don't need to wait to be enlightened to help others by sharing the Dharma. We do not need to wait. We need to have an attitude of compassion. We need to make sure we're being humble. These are in the list of 5. We need to go through things in a simple way that everyone can understand. We need to make sure the fundamental teachings are covered. Buddha says in particular, cause and effect, right? So our obligation as Buddhists is to share the benefit of the Dharma with others, to be a shining light, and not wait to be given permission to do that. No one's going to give us permission. We, as Buddhists, have that obligation to sit and practice, awaken our true nature and help others. And I think the more of us who bravely go out and just be practitioners and speak to our truth, that we are practitioners and we know stuff about the Dharma and we want to help others and we are helping others, you know, this will change this idea that we're not, you know, somehow significantly contributing to the Dharma. It's not true. It's already not true. We just need to change perception. So I think I was given a half an hour and that time is now up-ish. Is that right? Right, over time? So I'm happy to answer questions and be violently critiqued. Go for it.